When hope is gone, undo this lock and send me forth on a moonlit walk. Release restraint level 0. Hey kids, wanna see a dead body?
Hey guys, this is the Void of the Ravenclaw. Welcome back to another fanfiction story. If you like this type of content, smash the like button and subscribe for future updates that I do post on my community tab frequently. Now let's continue where we last left off in our story. The sun is beginning to rise upon Metropolis. People are getting out of their homes and apartments, houses and apartments, and doing their normal morning routine. At 5 o'clock in the morning, you could see Deku getting up at a crack of dawn, as he's so used to getting up early because of his schedule back in Alaska at the shrine. The young ice user proceeds to jump in the shower, then immediately after that started getting dressed, brushing his teeth, getting all his bed hair from the top of his head, fixing it in a mirror in the bathroom. Deku heard a knock from his door to see the bellhop, or the bellboy, with 2 carts filled with food. He gave the bellboy a tip and took the rolling carts filled with fruits and breakfast food, and shut the door and began eating while turning on the television to see the news station covering Superman's last fight that he had yesterday evening tonight. They briefly covered Supergirl until they started to mention Deku himself on a report from a reporter on the good old news station. Well, that can't be good. I'm getting too well known. This could be a problem. Hopefully this is just a 15 minutes of fame, then they'll forget about me. I could only hope. Unfortunately for Deku, that's just wishful thinking on his part. The fight against Parasite and taking down Metallo has spread through Metropolis like wildfire. Of the population of the city will not soon forget of Deku. He might not want it, but he's starting to become well known. Yesterday was his big day debut, really in the limelight. He mostly kept his activities under the shadows when he was in Gotham. He's known in Gotham, but not too well known. His fight was broadcasted, so of course his existence was revealed, even if that wasn't his intent to begin with. Deku would rather be known by his skills, creating ice sculptures, than fighting crime or committing crime. It depends on his situation he's in. Deku banished some such thoughts away and began to walk out of the hotel. He has paid for a couple of weeks, so he'll come back here when he needs to rest. This is the first time he's been in Metropolis, so he wants to go exploring before eventually he starts visiting all the art museums and art shows that are constantly going on all across Metropolis. When Deku stepped out of the hotel and made his way onto the city streets, he sees the street is filled with cars and people going about their day, Deku walked over to the battlefield that he fought in yesterday to see nothing but people around going about their business like the fight never even took place. There's still signs of damage around the area, but it's being completely being ignored by the general population, like it's normal for them. I've seen that look on many tourists' face when they visit Metropolis. It's because everyday folks just want to ignore all the craziness that goes on in this city. It still surprised me to see it when it does happen. Where's my manners? I'm Clark Kent. I'm a reporter from the Daily Planet. I was hoping I would get a short interview with you. You're quite the hot topic around the city. I was afraid of that. I'm not in a hurry, so I don't see why not. You're probably going to be one of many reporters that I'm going to have to deal with while I'm in the city, apparently. Sorry about that, but you were fighting with Superman. You made quite an impression on the city and its civilians. I suppose I did. If I'm going to do this interview, I want to do it somewhere nice while I drink tea. I know the perfect place. It's not too far away from here. I go there frequently. They have good coffee alongside with pretty good tea. They're the best in Metropolis, in my humble opinion. Very well, Mr. Kent. Just call me Clark. Very well, Clark. Deku wasn't born yesterday. It's not hard for him to notice the similarities to Clark Kent to Superman if you just remove the glasses and do his hair a certain way and put on the Superman suit. He would be a direct copy of Superman. It's not a very convincing disguise, but nor does Deku really care. Only way he would tell him he knows he's Superman was to mess with him. He might do that later, but for now, he'll play along with his interview. He figured he has some reason for keeping his identity secret. Most likely the cause of keeping his loved ones out of danger. Deku and Clark Kent arrive at the coffee shop that serves really good tea. They entered and got a seat in the back of the coffee shop. It's a private booth or private room if you request it and if they have any available. The moment they sat down, a waitress came to their table to get their orders, drink and stuff like that. While Clark took out his notebook, a small notebook, and began writing down, getting ready to ask several questions. I'll try to make this as painless as possible. It's not as bad as you think it's going to be. I just need general information about you, so I know what I'm writing in my article. I'll start with the alias you go by. I go by Deku, that's my alias, as you say, and my real name. I'm not much for keeping a secret identity. Too much effort. Understandable. How about where are you from? Born and raised in Gotham City. Deku isn't lying. He's from Gotham, but he's not from this Gotham on this Earth. But Superman doesn't need to know that. Clark can't entirely tell if he's lying. It's hard for Clark to tell if Deku's lying because his heart rate always stays the same, a very slow beat. Clark suspects it's something to do with his ice abilities. The interview lasted for several hours. Clark asking a bunch of questions, Deku replying with honestly, or honestly answer his questions without telling Clark too much. After their little interview concluded, Deku and Clark shake hands when the interview ended. As Deku begins to walk away as he turns his back to Clark. "Well, I'll catch you around, Boy Scout." As he turned his head back to stare at Clark, as he has a smirk on his face, as Clark's eyes widen. "Don't need to worry you don't need to worry your little Boy Scout brain over this. Your secret is safe with me. There's no value you have to expose your identity, Boy Scout. I'll catch you later, Clark." Deku exits the room, then exits the coffee shop, leaving Clark speechless. Who would have thought Superman is an everyday reporter working at the Daily Planet? A very interesting choice of career path for the Man of Steel that could pick up boulders and smash them. It was basically almost like a god tier. Physical strength and speed. He was broken out of his thought process, or his inner thoughts, by Deku was in the midst of walking past a toy store. That Deku noticed there are several plushies of Superman and Supergirl in the window. But there's another plushie in there, took him to pause his momentum and stared at the plushie of himself, all details got correctly. He doesn't know how that's even possible. He only arrived at the city yesterday. Somehow they got his details, had it manufactured and put in store shelves. He doesn't even know how that's even possible in not even a full day since he's been here. You got this Supergirl doing her normal patrol around the city. As she saw a familiar face, so she hovered down. Super couldn't help but laugh at the situation she's seen now. Deku staring daggers at his own plushie on display in the window of a local toy store. She's just hovering in the air laughing, giggling to herself. "Oh, it's you, Blondie. Stop calling me that. Just call me Supergirl if you want to call me anything. Whatever. Can you reveal to me how there's a plushie of myself already being sold? How did they even manage that feat? Managed to have them manufactured and created and on store shelves to be sold. I only arrived up here late yesterday afternoon. I might have X-ray visioning, but not even I know that. When I first arrived, it only took them 24 hours to have a plushie of myself or merchandise in general. Let's have a little chat. Not here. Apparently we're gathering quite a crowd. Can you fly? Yeah, I can fly. As Dragon Eye's wings come into existence on Deku's back, as he took flight to follow Supergirl. If this is about the Boy Scout's true identity, I have no interest in sharing such information. Kara frowned at that at first. I didn't know you knew my cousin's secret identity. It wasn't very hard on my part. Your cousin interviewed me as Clark Kent, doing some report about me, or doing something about me. A article, apparently. If he just loses his glasses, clothes, and do his hair a certain way. He's a direct copy of Superman, and the fact that everyone else hasn't figured it out, it baffles me. His little cover is not all that convincing. I told my cousin that many times, but he never listens. He's a very stubborn man. As long as you don't tell anyone and keep the secret, I don't believe we'll have a problem. Never had any interest in revealing or exposing any hero's secret identity. There's no value in it. I believe you, even though I can't tell by your heart rate if you're lying or not. But that's most likely because of your abilities. I could tell from the brief moment I saw you in action. You're definitely an ice user, but your powers seem more advanced than normal ice powers you would come across. You have a sharp eye. I've been training my abilities almost my entire life. Deku and Kara was broken out of their conversation by a high-speed chase going down below them, as they both could hear the sounds of gunshots going off while the police are backing off of their pursuit vehicle. Backing off but not losing sight of them, of the criminals, because they become extremely hostile, shooting at the police officers and anyone else that tried to interfere. Both of them look at each other, then proceed to follow the car by flying downwards. When Deku got close enough to the vehicle, he had to do a barrel roll while flying to dodge the incoming bullets and continue flying. A humongous shadow overtake almost an entire city. As you could hear a screech noise as the criminal car that was trying to invade the police had to stop as something slammed in front of his car. As more objects begin to be shot out of the skull-looking ship with tendrils on the bottom. As the unknown object began to drop, little round silver orbs. Once the orbs hit the ground, they turn into liquid metal and forming into Brainiac bots. As you can see this, they're all over this part of the city. They're all scattered all around the city in general, but they're more heavy in this direction. Suddenly there is a huge holographic image of Brainiac that can be seen. Deku stared at the image of Brainiac. He's heard stories of Brainiac when he was growing up, when he was still on his original Earth, but that was limited information. He doesn't know what the difference will be between this Brainiac and the Brainiac from his Earth. So yet again, I get suckered into another big fight, but I'm not complaining too much. This is the perfect opportunity to test out some of my abilities. As Deku has a smirk on his face. The holographic image of Brainiac stares down at all of the lower life forms, only finding a few interesting specimens as he glances at Supergirl and Deku that are currently still hovering in the air. Rejoice, you lower life forms. Brainiac has arrived. You are very fortunate life forms. This city will be preserved, like many others before them. Unfortunately, the rest of your planet will not be so fortunate. Do not resist. It is futile. At the end of the day, your city will be shrunken and captured for later study. And the rest of your people on this barbaric planet will be eradicated once I get everything I need from this world. The holographic image of Brainiac shut off and disappeared as several more, metal orbs get shoot down, turn into liquid metal, then form into Brainiac bots. A bit different that were shot out. They're a lot more heavier armor. Brainiac bots. I don't know why I'm having a hard time saying that. Brainiac bots. There we go. Deku turned his head around to see Supergirl battling the robots that are being dropped down from the mothership floating above the city. As several tendrils shoot down into the ground, digging into the crust of Earth. Deku turned his attention towards the incoming Brainiac bots that are beginning to blast the civilians of the city. Deku flew down and collided his fist into the Brainiac bot's face, ripping right through the robot as the robot exploded on itself from Deku's fist, destroying the robot's head all the way down to chopping the robot in half with just his pure force of his fist alone. Deku had a very thin layer of ice over his skin, so he wouldn't get damaged by any of the debris from the explosion that the robot went off. The moment his foot touched the ground of the street, Deku pulled out his freeze ray, out of his coat pocket and froze the incoming charging Brainiac bot. Deku shattered the frozen robot into million pieces by kicking the frozen statue. Deku had to hop backwards to dodge an incoming Brainiac bot. I'm starting to think I'm a magnet for trouble, as Deku had to dodge several attempts on his life. Deku fired rapidly from his freeze ray at several incoming Brainiac bots while hopping backwards. Suddenly, several rows of Brainiac bots turn red and blow up from being hit by heat vision by Supergirl. She's going a bit crazy with her heat vision. Deku put away his freeze ray in his coat. This is not going to get us nowhere. They're just replacing them. No matter how many you destroy, they'll replace more of them. Possible they probably have a factory making these damn things. Nanobites by the look of it, but highly advanced. I guess I have no choice. Deku Eye's wings began to flap once again as he took flight, burst towards the mothership that's hovering above the city. Supergirl noticed Deku's flight path and stepped in his way to stop him. I don't think that's wise, Deku. We don't know what this Brainiac is able to do. That's the point. I'm going to find out. I'll try to stall him on whatever he's trying to do here. You take care of the civilians around the area. I'll keep this Brainiac as busy as possible until the Boy Scout shows up. I believe it's going to take all three of us to join forces to take this one guy out, to take this Brainiac out. Now out of my way, Kryptonian. as Deku flew past Kara. Kara only sighed to herself. She's a tad bit worried about the boy, but yet again, she saw him fight, so she knows she knows that he could take care of himself. She has more pressing issues to worry currently. She kind of likes the kid, despite him being a smartass most of the time. And she's fully confident in herself to tell she's a good judge of character. She knows Deku is a good kid deep down, and she'd turn around to help out any civilians in trouble until they wait for Superman to arrive. Before Deku got too close to the mothership, he shot out several ice shards at the ship, only to see his ice shards get stopped in mid-flight by a purple force field that surrounds the entire mothership. So my hunch was correct. He does have some sort of force field shielding. Deku dissipated the remaining ice shards that are floating around him and shot out a condensed ice beam out of his palm of his hand, piercing right through the shield after the blast was, once the blast made contact. The shield held out for a little bit, but eventually the shield gave way, leaving a nice little open spot in the shielding as Deku blasted forward. Not close enough, he cocked his hand backwards and slammed his fist into the outer layer of the ship, tearing right through the ship hull, making him a self-made entrance to the mothership. The moment he stepped into the ship, the broken wall fixed itself as nanobots repaired it instantly. Quite fascinating technologies. These are definitely nanobots, and I'm guessing the whole entire ship is made of them. This is clearly far more than advanced than we have anything we can produce here on Earth. Give humanity a generation or two, we'll probably catch up to these nanobots in good time that Brainiac can apparently produce. He was broken out of his inner thoughts he was broken out of his thoughts, seeing the only way to go forward is a doorway that currently has a force field around it, blocking Deku's path. When Deku got halfway into the room, the force field blocking the doorway deactivated out of nowhere. Sorry about the pause, guys. My phone kind of broke, so what I had on the script, I can't read it, so we're going to have to remember what I originally wrote for it, so I'm going to have to go off the top of my head for the rest of this part. As the force field disappeared over the doorway, giving Deku clear entry. Deku's not born yesterday. He's fully aware this is most likely some form of trap. But he has to proceed this way anyways. So he proceeded to walk through the doorway, entering a hallway that led to a dome-like room. On all the sides of the room of the dome is miniature holes that have some sort of blast cap to them. Suddenly, once he entered the middle of the room, all the little blast caps on the miniature-sized holes in the room all slide open. as several smaller objects get shot out as they all begin hovering. They're round-like. They're more like Brainiac recon bots. They have one large lens for an eye that shoot out high condensed energy shots in rapid succession. Once they notice Deku in the middle of the room, they immediately open fire, forcing Deku to jump backwards, then do a backflip over several beams of light heading his way. The moment he lands on his feet, he dashed to the left, dodging several more beams of energy. As he used the ice underneath his feet to increase his mobility, using his wings in this close quarters would be unadvised. The dome-like room is big, enough to fight in, but not enough to fly. So he used the good old-fashioned method of using ice to increase his speed, as Deku's dodging out of the way by skating around all of the beams of energy, eventually jumping on the wall and began sliding while running on the wall of the dome, then proceed to jump over several of them, blast them with ice shards. Then when he landed, he put his hand onto the ground as he created a miniature-sized snowstorm into the entire dome, freezing anything inside. When the storm finally died down, you could see the frozen robot, or recon bots, sensor, basically drop to the ground as Deku calmly walks through until he gets to the other end of the doorway and exit this area. That's probably where we're going to stop it. Hope you guys have a good night and day. Judging my time, so I'll catch you in the next video.